UN. Thank you so much, John.
So part of President Trump's address today emphasized one of his biggest messages from the campaign trail, America First. Joining us now, Jonathan Schanzer, a former terror analyst at the Treasury Department and Senior Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. America First, certainly part of his speech, but he also castigated Iran for its behavior. That must be welcome news to the Israeli delegation.
Absolutely, and we'll hear soon from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is expected, I think, to echo those remarks and to perhaps try to prompt world leaders to revisit the Iran deal. We've heard from the French president earlier today, as well as some others, saying that it would be a mistake to tear up the deal or to leave it. But there is, I think, an effort underway right now to at least try to revisit elements of this deal, to revise it, to fill some of the holes in what the president, I think, rightly noted was a bad deal for the United States and for its allies.
Well, it may have been a bad deal, but it's in place, and it's my understanding that his national security advisor, H.R. McMaster, is saying you have to stick with what's been foisted upon us.
Well, I think that there is still a debate, and I think if you listen to what the president said during his United Nations speech, he hinted that there is going to be a revisiting of this in some way. Now, that's not to say that he's going to tear up the deal, but I think that there are some options short of that, and the president is looking into that now ahead of the next recertification period.
Is it realistic to pull out of that deal or amend it significantly?
Well, this is something that FDD has been looking at for quite some time. I know that there is a lot of trepidation among the international community of walking away, of giving Iran an excuse to go make a dash for a nuclear weapon. That said, if we don't take care of some of these gaping holes in the deal, you're going to have a nuclear Iran in roughly a decade. So it's really about trying to fix those problems that are lingering later on down the line, not to mention the arms embargo, which is set to expire, the ban on ballistic missiles, which is set to expire, and also mitigating all of the malign behavior that Iran is engaging in across the Middle East, from destabilizing Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. All of these things were left untouched by the nuclear deal, and that's why this is such an urgent matter right now before the United Nations and certainly in the White House.
North Korea doesn't have many friends in the world, but one of them is Iran. What's to prevent Iran from simply buying the hardware that it needs from North Korea, which clearly has nuclear capability?
This is really, I think, one of the great challenges for the international community right now. You're seeing a push from the White House to crack down on North Korea. There's a lot of discussion right now on how to cut off North Korea entirely from the financial system. The key to that, as we have identified at FDD, my colleague Anthony Ruggiero has been looking at this for quite some time. The key is China. China is really, I think, responsible for something like 83% of North Korea's trade. We need to make sure that the Chinese are on board, that they cut off North Korea entirely from the international system. That, of course, won't stop the illicit networks that are involved in moving goods and perhaps even weapons back and forth between North Korea and Iran. But I think vigilance, enforcement is really what is necessary. And I think the president is right to focus primarily on these two regimes. They are the countries, the governments that are posing the greatest threat to international security. And it's good to see a focus on that at the United Nations today.
As you were speaking, we had live pictures of the president returning to the UN building on the east side of Manhattan. The afternoon session about to get underway. He'll be listening, as you said, to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Jonathan Schanzer, Foundation for Defense of Democracies, thank you.
Thank you.
A Tennessee nursing student disappeared back in 2011, but Holly Bobo's remains weren't actually found until 3 years later. And now prosecutors have just wrapped up their case against her suspected killer, who testified and what the defense now plans. Plus, we are live on Capitol Hill, where the GOP is making one last stab at repealing and replacing Obamacare. So can they make it happen this time?